Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Miami Sports Music for the Fans on OnSide Radio. I am your host, Stephen D. Joining me today from DolfansNYC, Igor, and I'm super excited to be talking with him. We're going to get to him in 1 second. What I want to remind everybody is if you're listening to this right now or watching this on YouTube, make sure a couple things. Number one, if you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button. Need you guys to do that. Also, if you're not already subscribed to OnSide Radio, make sure you hit subscribe. It's up to you to help make our network grow by hitting that like button, hitting that subscribe button. We need your help. The next thing, if you're listening to this in audio form and you're listening live, you can actually download the podcast as soon as it is over. You guys can go to Amazon, Google, Spotify, Apple. If you like Apple, I'm not an Apple guy. I call Apple crapple. That's just me, okay? But whatever podcast form you like, that's what I want you to go ahead and download. You can download Miami Sports Music or download OnSide Radio and look it up. Those two ways to be able to catch this episode along with all the other ones that I have from in the past. But without further ado, let's introduce my guest one more time, the amazing Igor from DolfansNYC. Igor, what's up, man?
What's going on, man? Nothing much.
Dude, I'm super excited that you're on. We met, I guess, 4 or 5 years ago at the first time I went with Solo to the MetLife Takeover. He had already been to a couple before I started going with him to.
Yeah, he's old school, man. He was at maybe the second or third one ever.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then I think, actually, you know what? I think he went to that one, and then the next year I started going with him. So if I'm correct. So look, we're going to get to DolfansNYC. We're going to get to the MetLife Takeover because it is a staple of, Dolphin fan lore, as I put it. So I want to hold off on that because I get too excited just thinking about the MetLife Takeover. First thing I want to do, like we do with everybody, is you've seen the movie Back to the Future, right?
Once or twice, yeah.
Once or twice. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to get in the DeLorean. We're going to hit 88 miles an hour, and we're going to go back in time. We're going to start from the beginning with you, man. So let's get in the DeLorean, and let's go back in time. Let's start out with the beginning for Igor. Like, where did the very first time you can remember, like, was anybody in your family Dolphin fans, or, how did you, I think Redskins fans, right?
Yeah, I grew up with my mom's side of the family. They were all Skins fans, and my dad is from Dallas, so he's a huge Cowboys fan. So I never really was able to pick one of those teams. And I'm not actually sure how I became a Dolphins fan, but my first actual memory is I did a book report on a book about Dan Marino and Joe Montana in like this first grade, I think. And I had to make a puppet out of Dan Marino. So that's.
Do you have a picture of that?
I don't, and I've been looking for it. I think my mom packed it up when I went to college, and it's in storage somewhere. There's no way she would have thrown it out. I had it for years, so
you got to promise me whenever you find it that you'll tag me on Twitter. I need to see that.
If I find it, it's going on Twitter because I had it for years. It was like I had like a dolphin shrine in high school, and it was in that shelf that was all just dolphin memorabilia.
If you guys are watching right now, I want you to go on Twitter, go on Facebook, and use the hashtag for the fans, hashtag Miami Sports Music. And when you use those hashtags, tell me about a project that you might have done in elementary school the same way Igor did. I think that'd be pretty cool. I'd like to see if other people did that. If you guys have any photos and want to tell a story about a time that you might have done a project in elementary school or grade school, for the Miami Dolphins, I'd like to hear about it. I think that's really cool. So first or second grade, you kind of did it. Like, why Dan Marino? Do you even remember, or like?
No idea. I mean, I really liked dolphins when I was a kid. I thought I was going to be a marine biologist. That was like my first job I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. So I think that might have had something to do with it. It was the 80s. Loved those colors. Dan Marino was amazing. the Hurricanes were really good at the time. So maybe
Where did you grow up?
I like them a lot too. DC.
So that's kind of weird. Like you liked the Hurricanes. You liked I'm assuming the Hurricanes came after the Dolphins or the Hurricanes before the Dolphins.
I don't know, to be honest. My dad lived in Miami when he was I don't know, just after college. I mean, very briefly. In fact, I didn't even know he lived. Like that's a whole nother story. My dad told me about his first wife when we were in Miami going to see Dan Marino retire. That's how I found out. He was like, I used to work there. And I was like, when did you live in Miami? But he had this like Hurricanes coach's jacket because one of his friends gave it to him when he coached like a flag football team. And so I had that when I was a kid, and that still exists somewhere too. But so that may have been some of the reasons, but it's just a bunch of different things, and I'm not sure which is the real one that like is the reason.
So you grow up, did you always grow up in DC? Is that where you went to like middle school and elementary school?
Up until I went to college.
Did you start like rooting for them, and like were you a fan? Like would you wear Dolphin stuff in school? Because I grew up in North Carolina, and there was literally no one else there that were Dolphins fans. So to this day, people still knows me as, hey, you're the Dolphins fan, right? Like before they know my name.
Yeah, I was, for sure, diehard Dolphins fan from, as young as I can remember. So, 7 years old, something like that.
So Marino, who were some of your other favorite Dolphins back then?
Oh man, I remember I loved the line for some reason. I was a big Tim Ruddy fan. Clayton Duper, obviously.
Richmond Webb.
Yeah, of course, Richmond Webb, like Tim Bowens. I'm trying to think. It's weird because that's sort of like all a mash of like the late 80s, early 90s. And I'm like, I don't want to pick a player that wasn't there when I was, a little kid. But, obviously Duper, Clayton, Marino, those are the guys.
But you remember, so do you remember the first time that, like for me, here's a reality for you, right? So I'm just a little bit younger than you are.
Yeah.
My first memory that I have is 62-7. Like that's my first like fleeting memory that I can remember of the Dolphins. Like I remember watching,
Say it one more time. You said something glitched for a second.
62-7 was the first memory that I had. And so what was the first, like, because you dealt, if in the early 90s, you had to deal with some Bills games in the playoffs that gave you some heartache.
Yeah, the thing is that when you're a little kid, like, I only, especially growing up in DC before there was an NFL package, it's like I only watched the games that, were Sunday primetime, because a Monday Night Football game, I'm not staying up to watch it probably. Like I just like collected the football cards, and it's like how much football did I actually watch at that age? But of course I watched the playoffs, and I hated Jim Kelly so much. My best friend was a big Bills fan, and we had so many rivalries. I remember being at a Super Bowl party when the Skins beat them, and there was some play, and I don't even know if I was celebrating or if I was pissed off, but I punched a hole in the attic ceiling where I was watching the game at someone else's house. And years later at Slattery's, I'm not sure if I broke it, but I did some horrible damage to my fist. Like this whole thing was swollen from punching a wall during a Bills play. So it's just a lifetime of hating the Bills.
And your hand obviously has endured some painful memories from that too.
It's gone through. It's funny. I have a cut here too from hitting my own teammate while he was wearing a football helmet during practice, and I caught the buckle and was just gushing blood. I mean, it wasn't like I hit him hard. I just was getting frustrated because he was blocking me, and I just kind of did one of these, and.
All right, Igor. What we're going to do is we're going to have anger. We're going to have an anger management session here.
I got to tell you, I am a lot more calm than I used to be about football. Something about doing Dolphins NYC, it sort of turned this into a job a little bit, and I think that's really mellowed me out a bit. It's like thinking about my responsibilities and all the stuff I have to do. It sort of removed me one step away from total anguish. But I'm sure once we make the playoffs again and start doing well, I'll start being miserable again.
No, you're not going to be miserable because we're going to win it all, bro. Come on now. The power of positivity, bro.
Yeah. Right, that hasn't worked out so far.
No, it has not. Let me tell you. And anybody watching this knows that too. So, all right. So we go through high school. Let's go to the football cards. You collected football cards. Like, tell me a little bit about that, because I'm a big football card collector. Like, I have Marino rookies. Hell, I even have Tua Tagovailoa rookies and Ryan Tannehill rookies. I love football cards.
It's funny because I don't collect sports cards as an adult generally. I'm about to burp. Just ate a bunch of food. I'm not like going to buy packs. Although it's funny, I recently bought some old packs. I don't know if you saw on Twitter, but my girlfriend gave me a bunch of like early 90s packs that I was posting on Twitter. But I was a huge sports card fan when I was a kid. And collecting Marinos was like my thing. I had like every Marino when I was a kid. And I have a little bit of OCD, and that has translated to me trying to keep my collection up to date. And now I don't buy a lot of cards, but pretty much every year after the draft, I'll spend $100, $200, something like that, and get all the rookies, get a bunch of the players, and I just stick them in boxes. And I never look at them, and I don't know why I still do it, but the collection continues.
How long have you been doing that for?
I mean, I stopped.
You've been going to the draft for years, or at least you did when it was in New York.
Yeah, I've gone to. I counted recently. I think it's like 8 or something like that drafts I've been to, maybe more. But yeah, I don't remember when I stopped really collecting. I mean, sometime in high school. I was like real into punk rock and things like that, and was less. Even though I played football all through high school, I wasn't like collecting trading cards. But I was still keeping up to date. I'd still get the Dolphins. And then, once eBay came around, I started, just buying select cards here and there. And I still do have boxes and boxes of just random Dolphin inserts, in case you want like a John Avery rookie or, teal green. I got them all.
Dude, that's great. I love it. All right, so we're coming up on the first break here, but let's kind of get into your first. I don't know if I want to save that for the next segment or not, because that's going to be really good. Let's go into your first time you can remember being like finding another Dolphins fan that you and developed a friendship with. Like, do you know how long ago that was?
Yeah, it was. I transferred colleges. I went to Penn State, and when I moved to Richmond, Virginia, one of my friends had a Dolphins friend that he was like, "Yo, you got to meet this guy Zach. He's a Dolphins fan." And we used to, like, that was right around when I turned 21, so it's the first time I could like go to sports bars, and that was the first time in my life. Like 2001 was literally the first time in my life where I could watch every single game, because I never lived in a place where I could see every Dolphins game until I was old enough to go to a sports bar. And so around 2001, I met this dude named Zach, and he and I used to watch every game, and we'd find like a different bar to watch it at, every week. And I think I've probably missed maybe 5 games since then.
Really?
Yeah. I don't think there's a couple games I've had to miss for work. I remember one game I was a busboy, and the sports bar next to my restaurant was playing it, and we were dead. And I was just standing at the door watching into another bar, just watching the game. Just like, okay, I don't have to do anything. I'm just gonna watch it. I was looking at a screen all the way on the other side of the bar, but they were playing the Jets, so it was on TV. But yeah, I think maybe 5 games
That's awesome,
since
man.
2001.
All right. Well, let's come up on the next break, or we're coming up on the next break. When we get into the next segment, what I want to discuss is obviously, I guess you kind of did a great segue because we can kind of get into the bars and maybe moving into how you started going to, maybe your first game or your first experience directly with the team, meeting players, stuff like that. So we'll do that in the next segment. I want to remind everybody, every Thursday night from 7 to 9 p.m., you can catch Fight Night with Alex Dunno. It's the show dedicated to combat sports, from UFC to boxing to bare knuckle brawling. Alex and James Walker provide combat sport fans the insight and interviews they crave. Tune in every Thursday night from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. for Fight Night with Alex Dunno and James Walker. Search and subscribe to the podcast by searching Fight Night on the home for combat sports, OnSideRadio.com. Welcome back to Miami Sports Music for the Fans.
I've lost that. I'm a Dolphins fan. First actual memory is I did a book report on a book about. That hasn't worked out so far.
No, it has not. Let me tell you. And anybody watching this knows that too.
And
boxing to bare knuckle brawling. Alex and James Walker provide combat sport fans the insight and interviews they crave. Tune in every Thursday night from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. for Fight Night with Alex Dunno and James Walker. Search and subscribe to the podcast by searching Fight Night on the home for combat sports, OnSideRadio.com. Welcome back to Miami Sports Music for the Fans, exclusively on OnSideRadio.com. Super excited to be joined by my guest, Igor from DolfansNYC. Speaking of DolfansNYC, if you're a Miami Dolphins fan living outside of South Florida and you want to get together with other Dolphin fans on Sundays and watch the game with other diehard fans just like yourself, well, then you'll love this. Miami Sports Music presents the DWA Fan Club map. That's right. This map shows all the Miami Dolphin fan clubs across the globe. When you go to MiamiSportsMusic.com, you'll see the DWA map tab. Click it and discover where you can watch the game this year with other diehard fans just like yourself. When you click on a DWA icon, for example, if you were clicking in New York, Dolphins NYC's information page would pop up. You'd be able to see all their information from the founders, the bar, Slattery's, as well as the contact information and social media links. So if you're interested or you're in an area where you're on business or you're traveling with family and you guys want to see a game with other Dolphin fans, or maybe you just live somewhere and you want to start watching with other Dolphin fans, see if there's a fan club near you. Go to MiamiSportsMusic.com/DWA map. It's a really awesome thing. Have you checked out that DWA map yet, Igor?
Yeah, it's great. I'm lying. I haven't. I'm sorry.
That's all right. All your information is up there.
Right.
All Dolphins.
Awesome,
that was one of the first people that we had up there. So
amazing. Thank you,
dude. It's awesome. And at the end of the last segment here, you started out talking about going to a bar and watching the game with your friend. When was your first time you went to a game to see the Dolphins? Was it an away game? Was it a home game in Miami?
Yeah, it was 1995 Falcons versus the Dolphins at home. Dan Marino scored like 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter to come back to win. It was an incredible game. And I found out that not one, but 2 people I know, it was their first game. And one of them had a copy of it and gave it to me on a DVD. And I actually maybe it's 2 years ago during a Monday Night Football game, I live tweeted it as if it was the Monday Night Football game. And I just pretended it was happening live. And
what kind of feedback did you get from that? That sounds pretty cool.
People loved it. It was real good. That's how I found out another friend had, it was their first game too. But it was a great game. I remember this guy who was so drunk, who was being so obnoxious. And I'm 15 years old. I'm there with my dad, and this guy's just being such a jerk to me. And when the game's over, I turn around and he's unconscious. He had just passed out, missed the whole ending of the game. I'm sure he just woke up and just was miserable.
Dude, that's his loss. He's like 3 touchdowns in the end to come back and win. Like that's insane.
Yeah, it was an incredible game. It really was a real memorable one.
And the fact that it's your first one, that had to help you with the nostalgia that you have for it.
I was already so hooked. I remember just going to Joe Robbie. It felt like it was like a mecca. I mean, it was all I wanted. It was actually an early 16th birthday present. Because, my birthday's during the off season. So my dad was like, this is what we're doing for your 16th birthday, even though it's, months early.
I have a 5 and 7-year-old and I want to take them, but I just don't know if they're ready for that Miami heat yet, living up here in Maryland.
Yeah. It's
a whole other type. It's a whole other type of heat. And I just know that if I take them, there's no way that they're doing tailgating and all of that. So it just would not be good for them.
Yeah, I had such a blast walking around the stadium, checking everything out. It was, that was a lot for me. And then I think my next game was a Skins Dolphin preseason game
in DC.
And one of my friends is a big Skins fan. He told me that he had just gotten James Thrash's glove, and he was like,
name drop.
Yeah, he was like, he threw it up to me like, we got to go, and he's like, we'll go to the Dolphins exit, where they leave, so you can try to get something. And None of the players threw anything. They were all just like looking down because all the Skins fans were yelling at them, and they just like didn't make eye contact with anyone. And I thought it was over, and Marino was still out there, and he was, doing all this stuff. And I don't know. I think the security guard was friends with someone standing next to me because they brought Marino over to say hi to this guy next to me. And he reaches his hat up, and it's a preseason game, so he's been wearing that hat the whole game. And I think he was handing it to the other guy, but he didn't really know who he was saying hi to, so he just sort of handed it up, and I just grabbed it. And my friend started pushing people. This guy was like, the starting safety for our football team, and he just started shoving people and like blocking me out. And some guy was like, "I'll give you $100 for that." Somebody was like, "I'll give you 500." Someone else was like, "I'm just gonna follow him to the parking lot and take it." And so we like hid it under my shirt and ran. We went to the bathroom, like changed our clothes. Like it was a whole thing. But I still got that hat.
That is awesome, man. That is so the very first game that I went to is here in Baltimore. And I had we got killed. That was one.
I'm sure I was there, to be honest. I will bet you money. I've only missed a couple Dolphins-Raven games in Baltimore.
I want to say Brandon Marshall was on the team then too. And so that was my first one. But my second one was a preseason game in Carolina. And it was an amazing my wife got me tickets like on the first row behind the bench. And it was awesome. And we stayed at the team hotel. And for like 2 days, I literally was in the lobby with like an autograph pen and like football and a helmet. And Chris Barker was there, and all these major Dolphin fans that I've now know, but I did not know then. And it was cool because Paul Soliai was there. It was Tannehill's rookie year, actually. It was Tannehill's rookie year. And it was great because Rashard Jones, if I'm correct, was on the team. I'm pretty sure that's who I'm thinking of. But after the game, he saw me behind the bench the whole game, and they had said "Happy Birthday." Like my wife got "Happy Birthday, Stephen" put up in the stadium, but it had the And so Rashard Jones came over and goes, "Is it your birthday?" I said, "Yeah." He's like, "Here are my gloves."
That's awesome.
And so I know. So like to this day, it's still one of the coolest things, like memories that I have.
I got a game used Rashad Jones story too, which is that he was like my favorite player. Like his rookie year, I love safeties. It's like my favorite position. And so even though he like didn't play a lot his rookie year, he was just like killing people. Every time he was on the field, he was killing people. And I was like, I love this guy. And it sort of was like a running joke at DolfansNYC back when we were at 3rd and long, that like that was my guy. And so I tried to buy one of his jerseys, but it didn't exist. And so it was either get one made, which is like hundreds of bucks, or try to buy a game used one. And so I bought a game used Rashad Jones jersey from his rookie season just so I could wear it. And I put that thing came up to here on me. That thing was so tight. So it's in the plastic bag it came in, still in a box somewhere. But I really thought I was going to wear it.
That is so. Should have wore it tonight, bro.
That would be good. Yeah.
You see,
midriff.
You missed out. All right. Well, look, that's. Oh man, I feel like we could just probably tell each other stories for days of like just the interact. And see, that's, it's funny because me being involved with Miami sports music and you being involved with Dolphins NYC, and you kind of alluded to it in the first segment, is we kind of have to take a step away to a certain extent from being a fan because our business or what we're doing revolves around it. And so we have to be able to make sure that we're putting up good, like for you guys, you're when you guys do a game, or especially the MetLife takeover, without getting too much into detail, because I want to get that into the next segment, but it's like, you guys have to you have to make sure everything's a running clock and working the the DJ's doing good and the performance for solo and the player that you might have. So it's work for you. It's like you have to make sure it's all working, like, and then you're doing raffles and giveaways and all that. And so hearing these stories like mine for, there and you in Washington, it's like,